So I have to admit, I wasn't planning on seeing this movie at all, especially after its, let's call it warm reception. I already skipped Aladdin and Dumbo, and I wasn't going to give in to Disney's cash grab that easily. But the problem is that apart from The Great Mouse Detective, this is probably my favorite Disney animated movie ever. And ultimately, morbid curiosity got the best of me. So with the lowest possible expectations, I went to the same theater where I saw the original Lion King back in 1994, took my seat, and watched this movie. And I must say, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, let's get the very obvious out of the way. This movie does not hold a candle to the original in any way. And quite frankly, has no real reason to exist apart from being that aforementioned Disney cash grab, which I don't mind too much if it gets us closer to a Tron roller coaster in Disneyland. Hashtag make Tron 3 already. Even if you put aside your personal nostalgia, the original is just impossible to top. So this movie has a steep yet foolish hill to climb, but all things considered, it is nowhere near as bad as most of these reviews are making it out to be. So let's talk about it. The CGI effects are amazing. There are many shots in this movie that fooled me into thinking that I was actually watching one of those Planet Earth documentaries. I feel that these effects have set the bar pretty high, which means it's only a matter of time before we get the Homeward Bound remake. However, one point that is consistently being made by many people who have seen the film is that because the filmmaker slash chef decided to go with the realistic direction on these designs, all the characters in this movie don't really have facial expressions. Every character seems to have the same facial expression throughout the entire movie, even during the most emotional moments, which is why the Mufasa scene doesn't hit as hard as the original here. Look, on the one hand, I get it. When was the last time you went to a zoo and you saw a lion do this face? But on the other hand, you figured it out during the Jungle Book, and even before that, the Chronicles of Narnia figured this out in 2005. So, what happened here? Let's talk about some of the changes that were made from the original. Even though there really aren't a large amount of changes to the overall story, there were a few that I feel that helped the story make a little bit more sense. For example, in the original Lion King, Scar brings Simba down to the gorge because of a surprise he has for Simba, which always came off as a little bit of a half-assed excuse and kinda gave him away. But here, Scar brings Simba down to the gorge so he can practice his roar, which actually ties to a previous scene a little bit better. There are a couple of other small little changes that I can talk about, but I kinda wanna get into the pacing and why it's a little odd. Key scenes that we thought would be a little bit more fleshed out because we're in a quote-unquote live action movie are actually rushed and kind of go by a little bit quicker. And the scenes that are fleshed out and are a bit longer are pointless. Did we really need a nearly 2-minute scene of Simba's hair flying from one end of Africa to the other so Rafiki can know Simba is alive? And yes, you heard correctly, 2 minutes. Now the cast does a pretty good job, to be honest with you. Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen do a pretty good job doing Timon and Pumbaa, and Donald Glover is a notable upgrade from Matthew Please Stop Giving Him Ambien Broderick. Disclaimer, I actually like Matthew Broderick, I just never thought he did a good job in the original Lion King. However, the biggest letdown of the cast would probably have to be James Earl Jones. Now, I don't really like talking bad about James Earl Jones. He's a brilliant actor and you guys already know that, but his line delivery here sounds very tired and uninspired. And don't give me that excuse that he's getting old because he sounded just fine as Darth Vader in Rogue One. Also, can somebody fire the guy who mixed Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I could barely hear Donald Glover. Overall, some of you on the internet were a bit mean. This is not the worst Disney remake. This is easily the most pointless. At the end of the day, this really is a shot-for-shot remake with just a few variations to make it feel new, but it's all the same. Still, I had a good time watching this movie. The way I see it, wait for cable and don't go into this film expecting the same level of quality as the original. Just go into this thinking it can't possibly be worse than the Beauty and the Beast remake. So my final score on my impossible to get an 8 or above meter, I give The Lion King 2019 a respectable 5.5 middle of the road score.